It was another disappointing game for the Jambos. It ended goalless at Fir Park today, but did the Hearts title challenge also end with this 0-0 draw? Welcome back, guys, to Fog Football. It's time for the Hearts fans reacting. I mean, I'll react as well since I wasn't in the match review. Very disappointing to again drop points. Not necessarily because we dropped points to Motherwell. I think Motherwell deserve a lot of credit. This year they've been great. Football wise, they have, hands down in my opinion, been the best team to watch. Now, at the beginning of the season, they weren't really getting the results that you felt like their performances and displays deserved, but I mean, since then, over the last 6 weeks, Motherwell's form has picked up. They're beginning to win a lot more games now, and they're even in the games that they're not winning, they're drawing. And even that game against Celtic, they really were unlucky, and they kind of chucked that away to lose that 1-3-2. So Motherwell have improved a lot. On paper, I don't think this is a bad draw because, like I said, Motherwell doing really well at the moment at home. Normally, I would consider this a good draw. I would consider this a good point for Hearts. However, the reason why it's not a good point is because Hearts, over the past 4 weeks, have only won one game. Coming into this, I believe it was 5 points out of 12. The last two games, Hearts have only picked up 1 point out of 6. A draw against St Mirren, a draw against Dundee United in there as well, and they also had that defeat against Aberdeen. So, had Hearts beaten Aberdeen, then yeah, a point here doesn't feel that bad. But considering Hearts had only picked up 1 point at the last 6, you almost felt like they had to bounce back today. They had to get back to winning ways, and they haven't done that with a 0-0 draw. Second consecutive game, Hearts failed to score. That is a little bit concerning. I mean, you can make excuses. You can say that, well, Shankland wasn't playing in the Aberdeen game, that's why Hearts couldn't score. They had an off day, which I think is fine. Everyone can have an off day. Their best striker wasn't playing, but today, it's back-to-back games without a goal, and Shankland was back in today, so it's disappointing. It's disappointing. As a standalone result, a draw against Motherwell is not embarrassing. It's not disappointing. Hell, it could be considered a good point, but at the same time, because of the recent games and the recent results from Hearts, it doesn't feel like a good point. In fact, it feels like a bad point. It feels like 2 points dropped because we've been dropping a lot of points. But that's kind of how football works. The points that you pick up is only as good as your recent form. And coming into this game, I just do not believe that a point was good enough for Hearts in terms of the title challenge. And now they are 5 points, I believe, in front of Celtic. I think it's 5, and Celtic have 2 games in hand. So if Celtic win both their games in hand, then Celtic will be top of the table. Now, they do have a couple of tough games in there. They've got Hibernian tomorrow, Easter Road, which, fingers crossed, that the green side of Edinburgh can do the maroon side a favour. But it's going to be difficult. And at this moment in time, Celtic are easily favourites. I think they've always been favourites. Never, at no point did I ever say Hearts were favourites for the title. I believe that Celtic were always still the odds-on favourites, even after they were 8 points behind. But right now, it's looking good for them. I think the only consolation Hearts can take is Celtic still aren't playing great. Domestically, they're not. If Celtic were kicking in full gear, then I'd be a lot more worried. But I think Hearts, if they can begin to get back to winning ways, find a bit more form, then who knows? Who knows? Who's to say that Celtic can't drop points tomorrow? We'll find out. But anyway, let's see what the fans are saying. So AG says, can completely understand you going off the boil, but the last couple of games after you won the league in October. Again, I don't think we said... No, who said the league was over in October apart from Hugh Evans, who honestly talks shite. I was listening to Hugh Evans talking about Celtic should just give up in Europe. Europe's gone. It's like, what a fucking disgrace he is. Celtic had 4 points. Yeah, 4 out of 12 isn't great, but it's not worth giving up the campaign over. And then they beat Feyenoord, now they have 7. Celtic are 1 win away out of the last 3 games for realistically having a chance of going through. So, Yuki Evans really does talk shite. There's no doubt about that. Stacey Devlin says Hearts are falling apart. We've got the bubble getting burst here. Still top of the table. I wouldn't say the bubble's burst yet. I mean, it's 1 league defeat all season. Hearts are sitting top with the most amount of points. Why are we pretending that a draw at St Mirren is a bad result, that a draw away against the best looking football team in the league, Motherwell, why are we pretending that's a bad result? Yeah, the Aberdeen one was a bad result. I'll give you that. That was poor. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not like Hearts are putting in some shocking performances and losing games against like the worst teams in the league. No, the games that Hearts are dropping points and they're dropping points against, decent sides. So it is what it is. Ewok says, if you'd have said to me at the start of the season we'd be heading into December top, I would be laughing. We were always going to have a blip, and hopefully this is it. You only lost once. Win Stewart says, McKinn's ball in full effect. AMC, we've got a wing mirror here. We've got the Celtic badge. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. And we have Celtic then coming up fast in the slipstream, the slip road. I tried to do an F1 analogy there, and it just didn't really work.
Aye, the slip road, that worked, didn't it? That worked a fucking belt of that, indeed. But is that Brendan Rodgers' Honda Civic there?
It's coming up too fast. That can't be a Honda Civic.
It can't be, guys.
The speed of that thing coming up is no good. Ryan says, stop the experiment of Milne on the right and get him back at left back. Braga and Kissy off at the same time was the worst subs he's done. Kissy was causing them problems second half. Where's Kurjota? Alan Forrest in 2025 is not it. Same with Spittle. Questions to be asked. I mean, I think that Hearts fans need to realise that, we're doing well, but we're not all of a sudden the best team in Scotland. We're not the champions. We have the squad that we've... You can't just all of a sudden say that Spittle and Forrest aren't Hearts quality because we're doing well.
No, I totally agree, and I think... I mean, obviously it's been a great couple of months for Hearts, but...
No, but that'd be like...
This isn't the norm.
That'd be like Falkirk, just because they're in the top six now, going, Brian Graham's pish, Scott Arfield's shite. It's like, just because you're doing better than expected, you can't just start throwing, like, players under the bus.
No.
I think Spittle and Forrest can still do a job at Hearts. But if the Jamestown analytics work, then over the next couple of windows, I would maybe expect them to be filtered out. But in the meantime, they're still squad players. We still need to use them.
No, absolutely.
I don't think Hearts are in a place where we can say, we're too good to be bringing on Alan Forrest and Blair Spittle as substitutes. I think that's a bit ignorant.
It is ignorant, man. At the end of the day, you're not in a window, and he has to kind of use them. Who else has he got? Dealing with a few injuries as well.
Yeah, Rollball says, who saw this coming other than the whole of Scotland? Hearts, having beat Celtic to move 9 clear, have now handed Celtic the chance to go top. Perennial bottler Dale will have something to blame it on, but himself. Motherwell should have won 4-0, but he'll say it was the ref's fault.
Motherwell were the better team today, undoubtedly. I think a point, like you said in the previous show, I think a point's a good point in isolation, because Motherwell's the informed team.
It's just not a good point because Hearts have had a bit of poor form coming into this game. See if Hearts had beat Dundee United, beat St Mirren, beat Aberdeen, a point, I think you'd have taken a point today before kickoff.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But because they only had one at the last 6, coming in today, you felt like they really needed to get back to winning ways.
See, the key thing to remember...
A point's only as good as your last run of games.
Hearts have lost a lot of points to Celtic, Rangers, etc. Even Motherwell, right? The last couple of, the last 5 matches. But see Celtic, Rangers and Motherwell's form, I would describe that... It's genuinely untenable, right? Rangers winning 4 in a row, it's actually kind of surprised me because how bad the start of the season was. Celtic should have should have not won against St Mirren. Martin O'Neill's done, honestly, you'd be underrating the job he's done. Celtic, when he came in, I mean, he just lost against Dundee and Hearts. Rodgers had just fucking packed it in. It was a crisis. What I would say is, with the squad that Celtic's got and the injuries, Rangers' squad's shite and they're getting injuries now, then they're not going to continue to win games. They're going to go through this spell that Hearts went through. I don't think any team is honestly going to put a run together this season of 8 wins and 2 draws. I think for the most part, it's going to be up and down, up and down, up and down, right from here to the end of the season. It's all about whoever's the storm the best.
Yeah, well, did Hearts not have something similar to that at the start? Did Hearts not pick up like 8 wins and 2 draws?
It was
No.
9 wins, 3 draws.
Anyway, stand up for Celtic says ha 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 ha. Callum McDonald got away with one there. Motherwell were the better team for the majority of the game. Hearts' first touches were diabolical all game and have been for the last 3 games. Right hand side offers nothing going forward and forces everything down the left, which is too predictable. Stuart McKenzie, no creativity in the middle of the park. Lots of graft and backward passes. Need a replacement for Benny, who is a massive miss. I'm hoping Bellingham will be back soon. Rustler, once Shankland is back, you'll start scoring again. Alright, he didn't score, but
Her header cleared off the line.
yeah. Like, why are people pretending that Braga and like Kizaridis are two shite players because they've had a couple of off games? Yeah, that actually really does piss me off. Is it anybody?
A couple of weeks ago, everybody was wanting to sign these two.
Yeah. And Cal McGregor's had an off season.
Yeah.
And then he scores 1 goal and people pretend he's like a messiah.
I'll stick him in the Scotland squad. So, it's funny how that works, guys. Anyway, Hearts crumbled a little bit. But here, Rangers crumbled at the start. Celtic lost, fucking Dundee, Hearts, right? Drew with Hibs in that period as well. It all depends, man. Fucking big day ahead today. What I would say is I do think Hearts... They kind of need Hibs to do them a favour today because if Hearts lose at Celtic Park, the gaps, but that turnaround, it's beginning to look a bit tough.
I'd say a draw would be a good result for Celtic though.
Tomorrow?
A decent result.
Or later on the day against Hibs? Yeah, no, I would agree with
that.
But
only because if Hearts had been winning all their games, then a draw would be a disaster. Results are only as good as the results around you.
Hearts' next 5 games, it's away to Hibs, home to Rangers, away to Celtic, home to Killie, and I think the other game is Falkirk, I want to say. They need to pick up double-digit points for me because in the last 5 they've only picked up 6 against favourable opposition. When the reality is, in an ideal world, you'd flip it. But then you could say, well, no, because you actually need to pick up the points against Celtic and Rangers, so... It's how you spin it, man. But what I do know is Hearts need the end of the year strong, I think, if they're going to have any chance of winning this league.
I think they need to beat Celtic at Celtic Park to try and get a bit of momentum back on side.
Oh, no, I would agree. Because, yeah, you're right. Because that could be one of Wilfred Nancy's first games. And if Hearts rock up and beat him, that could be a fucking hammer blow.
You say they need double-digit points. Out of those 5 games, picking up 10 points is alright, but it's not so good if the loss is against Celtic.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there.
If the win is against Celtic, then all of a sudden 10 points is actually looking like a decent points tally.
No, totally agree. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there. Big day ahead. A lot of reaction, a lot of games to review. We'll be there. Till then. Peace.